I went to my first ever Formula 1 race at the Belgian Grand Prix. I was there for all 3 days of the event, so come with me as I experience an F1 Grand Prix weekend for the first time and show you guys what it's like. Welcome to Leuven? Absolutely no idea how I should pronounce it. Let's go with Leuven for now. For those of you that don't know, the Belgian Grand Prix happens in Spa, which is a town in the south of Belgium. The actual track itself is in the middle of a forest. I think it's called the Ardennes forest. And what that means is there's very little places to stay near the track, and what little places there are ridiculously expensive. So instead, I'm staying in the city called Leuven, which is about half an hour away from Brussels. And from what I've seen so far, it seems like a relatively nice town, a lot better than Brussels. As you can probably imagine, I am very, very excited. I've been watching F1 since I was about 6 years old, and the fact that at the grand old age of 28, I'm finally getting to see my first F1 race, it's just so exciting. In fact, I bought a new bucket hat just to sort of mark the occasion. Let me show you guys. So here it is. What do you guys think? I got the Mercedes Lewis Hamilton bucket hat. Obviously, I had to get something to represent the best British driver of all time and one of probably the best Formula 1 drivers of all time. As you can probably guess, I'm a massive Lewis Hamilton fan, so I'm hoping he does really well this weekend. But yeah, I thought I'd vlog this whole experience, show you guys what it's like to visit an F1 track, what you can do there apart from just watch the races, and give you an idea of what the experience is like. I suspect it's going to be very different to watching it on TV. Hopefully by watching this, you might be inspired one day to visit a Formula 1 race for yourself in person, and also give you an indication of the kind of costs involved. Bit of a spoiler, it's not cheap. To give you an idea of how it works, the F1 weekend consists of 3 days, Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and I've got tickets for all 3 days. Friday is like a practice day. There's 2 sessions, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and all they really do is sort of try different setups on the car, drive a few laps around the track and sort of get a feel for it. And then Saturday there's another practice session in the morning, and then in the afternoon there's qualifying, and that qualifying sets the grid for the big race on Sunday. Apart from all of that, there's loads of other events going on. There's loads of other support series, so like F2 and F3, and they're like feeder series to F1, and where the drivers will typically drive in when they're quite young to gain a bit of experience before they move on to F1. So today's currently a Thursday. I got the US start at 7 a.m, so I am really, really tired. So I think what I'm going to do now is head out in a bit, grab some dinner, and then come back, get an early night, and then wake up early to head to the track. Sorry for the long intro. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Good morning, welcome to the first proper day of the Grand Prix weekend. I'm just sat outside Leuven station at the moment, waiting to get on my train, which is coming in about half an hour's time. From Leuven, you have to catch the train to a place called Verviers, and then from there, there's shuttle buses that'll take you straight to the track. According to Google, apparently the whole thing will take just over an hour, but I feel like in reality it's going to be a lot longer than that, especially with the amount of crowd that are coming. Apparently, on average, about 450,000 people come to the Belgian Grand Prix over the 3 days. So yeah, you can imagine logistically wise, it's going to be quite long to getting to and from the track. As I said, today's a practice day, so there's not a lot of track action going on. So today I'm just going to use as a day to sort of get my bearings, see how long it takes to get from here in Leuven all the way to the track, so that I'm better prepared for the more important days, which is Saturday and Sunday. Even though there's not a lot of track action today, there's lots of events happening in and around the track. There's like a fan zone where there's apparently like lots of like interviews and stuff going on, so I'm going to go and check that out. But yeah, I've got about 20 minutes until my train, so I'm going to chill here for a bit and hopefully make it to Spa with no hiccups. Once we got to Verviers station, there were a lot of shuttle buses lined up to take the fans straight to the venue. Luckily, as we had already purchased our tickets beforehand, we were able to jump straight onto the bus. The bus journey took over 40 minutes, which was a lot longer than I anticipated. This was largely down to the narrow windy roads that are common in this part of Belgium. Having got off the bus, I assumed it would be a short walk to the track. However, I was very, very wrong. We were sent on a route that went through camping fields, and it took us another 40 minutes to reach the main entrance, where we encountered more queues as we went through security.
Finally here in our seats. It's a very sunny day. I feel like I'm going to get a major tan. Also because of how long it took to get here, we've missed most of the morning events, which is not too bad, I guess. As the F1 first practice starts at 1:30. It's about half an hour until that starts, so we're just going to chill here until then. And to keep us entertained, there's some good music being played in the background. So I was pretty fortunate to get grandstand tickets, and I feel like I'm sat in a very good place. For those of you that know Spa track well, that's just the start finish straight right ahead of me. That's the first corner, and then if you look around left here, you've got Eau Rouge as well. So this is like probably the most action-packed bit of the whole track. So I'm here with my sister and my cousin. Do you want to show off your socks or jacket even?
Little Ferrari vintage jacket.
What are you guys most excited for this weekend?
I think the atmosphere. I don't know if you caught that. Yeah, I think I caught the atmosphere. It's obviously different watching on the ring on a TV screen to actually watching it around here. So I think it's going to be really cool atmosphere this weekend.
Yeah, and also, and hopefully there's some rain tomorrow, something exciting might happen on the track, I don't know.
And then it was time for the first practice session to start. One of the first things you have to get to grips with watching F1 live is that as the tracks take up such a large area, you can only see what's happening in your area, and therefore you need to rely on the giant screens and commentary to see what's happening elsewhere.
One of the craziest things about watching F1 in person is how loud the cars are. It's so much louder than I thought it was. In fact, there's a car coming out, let's hear it. Did you guys hear that? I don't know if it came across well on camera, but yeah, these cars are so loud.
The first practice session eventually drew to a close, and to no one's surprise, Verstappen was the fastest. We had a bit of time to kill before the second practice session, so we decided to walk around and explore the other parts of the track, including the fan zone.
Right, this is the food options we have behind the stand. So we got some pasta, we got some burgers, and then some waffles and stuff all the way over there.
Now, do you want to hear the most terrible way to order food at any sort of sporting event? I'll tell you where. How? Well, how anyway? A little ticket system. You have to go up to that, see that massive queue back there, or to load up a card with coins for how much? 50 euros minimum, by the way. And then you have to take that card to pay with things for food. Why can't you just use your own bank card? I don't get it.
It's just a huddle with people.
Oh, it's not even a queue, it's a huddle apparently. How ridiculous is that?
As you can imagine, there are a load of food options around here, but they're all so expensive. But one thing that is free is water. There's water fountains littered all over the place, so you can bring in your own water bottle and keep refilling it. And in weather like today, where it's quite warm, I definitely recommend it. We're just walking down the track now. I can see all the motorhomes there, through the gaps in the fence. It's kind of crazy. They set this whole thing up for about 3 days of racing, and then they have to bring it all back down again. Okay, so you get a bit of a better view of the track further down. I just sort of climbed onto this little like mound thing over here. So there's Eau Rouge, there's like the pit lane and all the motorhomes, and then all the way down there in the distance is where we're sat. I've just walked down to the bottom of the hill by Eau Rouge, and the cars here are so much louder. F3, was it F2? Sorry, F3 qualifying started, and yeah, the cars are just ridiculously loud. I mean, listen to this. So you can just about make the fan zone down there, and it looks very crowded. It feels like there's a massive queue to get in, so I'm not sure if we'll be able to go in, but we're going to walk up to it anyway. Okay, yeah, that queue's a bit too long. I feel like if we went down there, it would take us like another hour to probably get out, so we're just going to chill around where we are now and head back to our seats for practice 2. So they do sell protective earmuffs and headphones at the track, which if you're sat somewhere like here where the sound is ridiculously loud, you probably want. Qualifying for F2 has just started. I don't know most of the drivers, apart from Ollie Bierman, who's supposed to be driving for Haas next year.
Paul Aaron, the only driver to be in the 156s, 156.9 for him.
F2 qualifying is over, but in more exciting news, we have got an acrobatic helicopter display. It's doing like loops and stuff. I didn't even know helicopters could do that. It's actually fascinating. It's kind of scary as well because, I mean, look at it right now. It feels like the helicopter's about to fall and crash, but the guy, I don't know. I have no words for it, but it looks really good. We've just started practice 2 for the Formula 1 cars. It'll be interesting to see if Verstappen can still maintain speed from practice 1. I'll be honest, the practices aren't the most exciting things, as you can tell. It's just cars driving around, trying to find out the best setup for the track.
Ja, der weiche Reifen scheint hier ganz gut zu funktionieren. Alle Fahrzeuge verbessern erheblich ihre Zeit. Ich
P2 is done, and both the McLarens were 1 and 2, though this time it was Norris and then Piastri. That's pretty much the last sort of major track event for the day. There is a Porsche Super Cup practice session, but as you can see, most people are leaving, and given how large the crowds are here, it's going to be a massive queue to get out of here as well. So I'm going to end the video for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow for day 2 of the Belgian Grand Prix.
Good morning. Welcome to day 2 of the Belgian Grand Prix weekend. Today is qualifying day and also when some of the races for the lower series start. So yeah, today is the proper first action-packed day of the whole weekend. As you can probably tell from the lighting in this room, it's very grey today. In fact, in typical Belgian Grand Prix fashion, it's expected to rain today, which is one of the reasons why it's one of the best races on the calendar. The race is so unpredictable. It's such a good track. The weather's so unpredictable. It's always a lot of chaos that happens at these races. So yeah, ditched a bucket hat for today. Didn't want to ruin it in the rain. On a complete side note, do you guys recognize the football top I'm wearing? If you know this team, let me know in the comments below. Shall we talk costs? I feel like it's a good time to do it. Let's do it. Right. Let's start with the most important cost, the actual F1 ticket itself. As I mentioned, I've got a ticket for all 3 days, but you can buy tickets individually for Friday. I don't know why you would do that. It's just practice. Saturday or Sunday, or some people do Saturday and Sunday, which makes kind of sense, but we thought we may as well go for all 3 days. It was better value for money anyway. How it works at most I'm not sure if this is the case for most Grand Prix, but I know this is the case for the most European Grand Prix. So you have general admission, which is like the lowest level and the cheapest tickets. Then you have silver, gold, and then it goes into like hospitality and VIP and so forth. So gold and silver are typically like grandstand tickets. You pick a seat, and that seat is your seat throughout the whole weekend. And that's what I've done. I went with gold, so a bit more on the expensive end. So general admission, they're the cheapest tickets. And with general admission, how it works is you can sit anywhere outside of a grandstand. So you can sit any hill, any sort of grassy bit. But the problem with that is while it's the cheapest ticket, you're not guaranteed your place. So if you want to get like a really good view, you have to get to the track ridiculously early. I'm talking like 6, 7 a.m. for the race that starts at like 2 p.m. So you have to get there early and then just sit there for like 5, 6 hours until the race starts. The problem we have is we're not staying near the track. So in fact, the earliest train from Leuven down towards Fevrier is at 8:30. So if we were general admission, we would not be getting good seat at all. The good thing about Belgium is it's one of those tracks that you can camp at. There's a lot of people camping, so people who tend to camp are the ones who do general admission, and that's sort of like the budget way to see the sport, I guess. So for the 3 days, my ticket cost £428.80. I can see some of you rolling your eyes. Yes, it's a very expensive sport, and it's probably why I haven't been to an F1 race so far in my life, despite watching for over 20 years. But I guess you do get a bit more value for your money. Like with a football match, it's 90 minutes and then it's done. But with F1, there's like it's split over 3 days and like you have loads of support stuff going on. So it's full days. So I guess if you look at it from a cost per minute point of view, I guess it actually works out cheaper than a football game. So general admission tickets, which are the cheapest, cost about £250. And yes, that's also expensive, but Belgian Grand Prix is actually one of the cheapest tracks on the calendar. For example, Silverstone, which is where the British Grand Prix happens, I think general admission is like £400, and then the grandstand tickets are typically like £800, £900. So yeah, you can see the costs for Belgium are quite cheap, and probably why it's one of the more popular tracks on the calendar. So as I mentioned, I'm getting a train ticket from here in Leuven to Vevrier. Now, luckily, when you buy a ticket, you get a 50% off voucher. But even with that, for 3 days, return train tickets cost £45.06. And then to get the shuttle bus from Verviers to the track and back each day, for all 3 days cost £25 and 84 pence. So in total, just to get from here in Louvain to the track, watch the race for the 3 days, it's costing me about £500. And that's not even taking into account hotel costs, food costs, getting the Eurostar from London to Brussels in the first place. So yeah, it's not a cheap sport to watch. And like I said, it's probably why I haven't been to any races before in my lifetime. And unless this YouTube channel pops off or I do really well in my professional career, I probably won't be going for another race for another couple of years. Hopefully that was some useful information for you guys. It's now 7:30, so I need to leave and head to the train station to make my way to the track.
Finally got to my seat. Whilst it was quicker to get here from Louvain to the Spa area, I think yesterday it took us about 2 hours, whereas today it's about close to an hour and a half. To actually sort of go through security and everything was so much longer today. Security was a lot tighter, there's a lot more crowds as well. And I get it, there's a lot of people who come to the Spa Grand Prix. Like I said yesterday, I think it's 450,000 people visit throughout the weekend. But I don't know, I feel like there could be a better system. I mean, you're sort of funneled down like this narrow sort of stretch. And I feel like you could like maybe make like access into the circuit a lot wider and so forth. So the time's currently 11 o'clock, so I've missed the F3 sprint race. Right now we've got, I can see the Porsche cars are lined up in the pit lane and they're about to start their qualifying session for their race tomorrow. And then after that, I think it's the F2 sprint race. And then finally we have F1 qualifying in the evening. As you can see, it's very dark and grey today. They're expecting there to be rain during the F1 qualifying later in the day. And I understand that's not covered, but I have come prepared. I managed to get myself a poncho for a £5, so hopefully that should protect me from the elements. Initial thoughts of the Porsche Super Cup cars is that they're a lot louder than the F1, F2, F3 counterparts. It's kind of interesting to see how like a relatively normal road car goes around this track compared to like the F1 cars, which are specifically built for racing. On average, they're about 40 seconds per lap slower than the F1 cars, so it gives you an idea of how quick the F1 cars are. And apparently, it started raining at other parts of the track. That's one of the unique things about F1, because the tracks take up such a large space. It's possible to be raining in one part of the track and not in the other part, which makes it even more challenging for drivers, I guess. You're dealing with dry tracks and wet tracks. It hasn't started raining where I'm sat at the moment, but everyone's sort of got their jackets and ponchos on as precautionary measure. We're all kitted out as well. Yeah, my poncho's a bit flimsy, but hopefully it does a job of keeping me dry.
Lane in the pit garage, anyone, they'll be coming past you wherever you are on the circuit. As I've said, as the rain gets heavier.
So it rained for about 10-15 minutes, and then it stopped, and now it suddenly started raining again, just as P3 is about to start. So I think we're in for a very interesting session.
Red flag, free practice there for the time continues to count down, so we will lose some practice time. We'll look to see what happens to Lance Stroll.
So as you probably saw, there wasn't a lot of running towards the end of P3, and now we've got a 45-minute break until the F2 sprint race starts. So we've decided to get some food, but I feel like a lot of people have had the same idea as us. I mean, look at these queues. It's absolute carnage out here. So many people. Can't even tell which queue is going to which place. With the rain continuing to hammer down, the F2 sprint race was unfortunately postponed due to the dangerous conditions. So what that does mean is I've got to wait another hour before qualifying starts. I'm relatively dry at the moment because of the poncho, but my socks and shoes are very wet. So I'm hoping my socks and shoes can dry before I have to head back to the hotel. Right, we're about 10 minutes away from the start of qualifying. Even though he's got a 10-second grid penalty, I do think Max is going to be the fastest. And then maybe the McLarens. My rogue opinion is that I don't think Perez is going to make it to another Q2 again.
Right, so my prediction is I think that Max is probably going to come first, even though I don't want him to. But my rogue prediction is that I bet at least one of the Ferraris won't make it past Q1.
Okay, my prediction is that... Okay, for pole, I think one of the McLarens, probably Lando, because I don't think Piastri will do well in the rain.
You can see all the cars lined up there in the pits, ready for quali. Even though it stopped raining, the track is still pretty damp, so hopefully no one has any crashes. F1 qualifying is split into 3 different sessions, with the slowest 5 drivers being eliminated after each of the first 2 sessions, leaving us with a shootout for the top 10 in the final session. There were no real surprises, with all of the favourites making it through to the 3rd and final session.
Et celui qui a surgi dans les tout derniers instants s'appelle Charles Leclerc avec Ferrari. Et
It's good. I mean, I definitely did not expect that this weekend. Obviously, with the tricky conditions, we could do something.
Quali has finished and Verstappen was fastest. I don't think anyone in this whole track was surprised about that. But obviously, due to his 10-place grid penalty, he's going to start 11th. And surprisingly, Charles Leclerc is going to start on pole. That wasn't on the cards for me. And Perez has somehow got his act together and is going to start P2. I think that's the first time he's got into P3 in about 5 or 6 races. So yeah, good for him. He announced that the F2 sprint race, which was postponed from earlier, is now going to be at 6:15. As I said, it takes us 2.5 hours to get back to our hotel from the track. And given we need to check out tomorrow morning at like 6 a.m. to make our way to the track, before we should probably head off after a few laps, so that we have time to like get some food and then dry everything that got wet today and pack up.
Unfortunately, the rain started again as the F2 sprint race got underway, leading to the safety car coming out within a few laps. We decided this was probably a good time to leave and head back to our hotel, before returning tomorrow in hopefully sunnier weather.
Welcome to day 3. Today is race day, by far the most exciting day. It's a lot sunnier today than it was yesterday. I finally dried off. As you can see, I'm on the train down to Verviers, and then from there, as with previous days, we'll get a shuttle bus down and then walk from there to the track. Let's predict what's going to happen in the race today. I think, even though Verstappen is the fastest, he is starting from 11th, and even though Spa is a relatively easy track to overtake on, it is going to be dry the whole day today, so he might not be able to as easily overtake as he would have been able to in the rain. So, Leclerc starting on pole, but he's a bit of a bottle job in my opinion, so I don't think he'll win the race. Perez is second. I also think he's not going to win either. Hamilton's third, and as much as I'd love him to win, I don't think his car's fast enough, so I think one of the McLarens is going to win.
Hello everyone, welcome to day 3 from us. Today we're obviously repping our merch. You know who we're supporting today? The GOAT, Lewis Hamilton, obviously. Our predictions, well, my prediction, even though I want Mr. Hammy to win, I'm pretty sure he probably won't, unfortunately. But if he wins, yes. But I think most likely to win will probably be a McLaren driver. I think more likely Piastri than Norris. I think this week he might be on a little bit of a revenge arc, but we'll see.
I think, as much as I want Hamilton to win, obviously I'm going to support him. If he wins, great. But, see, I know you guys don't think Verstappen's going to win, but I think his car's just too fast, and also he knows that he's a good driver, and he's just going to zoom past. I think McLaren's could be 2 and 3, but I do think that Verstappen is going to be the winner. But we'll see.
Just made it to our seat. It was actually a lot quicker today. We didn't have to queue at all at any place, at any of the checkpoints. I guess that's because a lot of the general admission people come in super early on race day to get good seats. So yeah, made it to our seats. As you can see, the weather is completely different today. It's just so much warmer, so much sunny. Currently the F2 race is going on. I thought I'd missed the whole race, but about halfway through the race. So once that's done, it's then the Porsche Super Cup race, and then finally we have the spectacle that we're all here for, the F1 race in the afternoon.
Rekorde auf 4, Ghana auf 5, Korea auf 6 und dann Jean-Paul Albon der im Gegensatz zu dem bisher genannten championship since its inception, and it is clear that they're doing a very, very good job.
We're just waiting for the start of the Porsche Super Cup race, which you can see the drivers all lined up on the grid over there. One thing I do want to say is, yes, watching sort of racing live is amazing, exciting and whatnot, but if it wasn't for the screens and the commentary that's happening, you would have no idea what's going on. I mean, all we can see is just like this small bit here. It's the screen and commentary that's keeping you informed. And I don't know, it feels like I'm sort of half concentrating on the screen and half concentrating on the actual like track action. Like, don't get me wrong, it's an amazing experience, but I feel like it's slightly blighted by the fact that you have to have a partial like sort of eye on the screen to have an idea of what's going on. was yesterday with the consistent rain and so forth, but today is the complete opposite. Like I said, it's so sunny and so hot, and especially because I'm in like an uncovered grandstand, I can just feel the sun beating down on me. I feel like I'm getting sunburned. Everyone around me, including myself, has been applying sun cream. So that's one thing to take into consideration if you do come to a race. Think about the weather, think about where you're going to sit in a covered grandstand, uncovered grandstand. But yeah, I'm absolutely roasting. I'm hoping it cools down a bit by the time the race starts.
It was then time for the F1 race, which began with the national anthem and opening ceremony. Once this was all over, it was then finally time for the race to begin. I assume most of you watching this video will know what happened in the race, but on the off chance you have no idea, here's a quick summary. Lewis Hamilton quickly overtook Leclerc and Perez within the first few laps to lead the race, which is where he stayed for pretty much the first half of the race. Typically, during a standard Belgian Grand Prix, drivers will make 2 pit stops to change tyres. However, George Russell, the other Mercedes driver, managed his tyres well, meaning that he only had to make 1 stop for tyres. This led him to winning the race, with Hamilton coming in second and Leclerc rounding off the podium spots. It then transpired, about an hour after we had left the circuit, that Russell had actually been disqualified due to a technical infringement. But more on that later. One of the great traditions of a Grand Prix weekend is that fans are allowed to invade the track after the race is over, so that they can watch the podium ceremony up close. This meant that we had to get in the queue for this with about 2 laps to go. After a bit of jostling, we were able to get into a good spot to see the drivers lift their trophies, and then made use of this opportunity to spend some time on the track before heading off.
What a day. I loved every second of it. Let's get out here and I'll give you a proper review of my whole experience at the Belgian F1 weekend. I didn't film last night because by the time we left the circuit, walked to the shuttle bus, got the shuttle bus, and then eventually got the train to Brussels and checked into a hotel. It was already 10 o'clock. Right, let's talk about how my overall experience went. First things first, I had a great time. Like I said at the start of this video, I've been a big F1 fan for multiple years, and it's always been a bucket list thing for me to go to a race, and so the fact that I finally done that was amazing. I had a great time overall. Seeing the cars in person and how fast they go was just unreal. It's really hard to comprehend without actually being there in person, and seeing both the Mercedes drivers on the top of the podium was really the cherry on the top. Even though Hamilton technically won in the end, if you guys didn't know, George Russell got disqualified about an hour after the race finished because his car was underweight, and so Hamilton got the win instead. Even though he got the win, it would have been better to see him, from a personal point of view, to lift the first place trophy on the podium. But alas, I can't complain too much. It was great to see him on the podium regardless, and going on the track at the end I think was like probably the best part of the whole experience. Anyway, let's talk some negatives. First things first, the cost. F1 is an expensive sport to follow. Yes, I could have got cheaper tickets, but ultimately, if you take into account like the hotels, the transport, the tickets and everything else, it was quite expensive. I've been on like 2-week holidays that have cost less than the 5 days in total I've spent here. Second thing, as I've mentioned previously, Spa is a very long track. It's the longest track on the calendar, and F1 tracks in general are quite long. And the issue with that is you can't really see what's happening around the whole track. If you go to any other sporting events, football, cricket, basketball, tennis, you name it, you can watch the whole event, you know exactly what's happening at all times. But with F1, and especially with Spa, because of how long it is, you can only really see what's happening in your segment. So you're having to rely on the screens and the commentary that's happening to have an idea of what's going on. And what that means is you can't fully concentrate on watching the cars go past you. You sort of have an eye on that, and you have an eye on the screen at the same time to have an idea of what's happening. So you can't really get fully immersed into the experience, and I guess that's a bit of a frustrating thing. It's kind of got to a point where I was half watching on TV and half watching it in person. So yeah, I guess that's just an issue that's limited just to F1. And the third and final thing, and this is more specific to the Belgian Grand Prix, is just how long it took to get to the venue. I mean, from Verviers station, the shuttle bus took 45 minutes. And I thought the shuttle bus would drop us off maybe a 10-minute walk from the track, but it actually dropped us off about a 45-minute walk from the track. And so just going from Verviers to the track was an hour and a half. Thankfully, where I was sat was quite close to the entrance, but if I was even further down, I would have been an extra half an hour, 40 minutes, so forth. And then you take into account, it took us 50 minutes to get from Leuven to Verviers. We were spending 2.5 hours getting to and from the track each way. So like we'd wake up and leave the hotel around 7:45. By the time we got to the track, it would be like 10:30, 11. And then we'd leave the track every day around 6:30. And by the time we got home, grabbed dinner, got back to our hotels, it would already be 10:30. So we were pretty much just going to sleep, waking up, going straight to the track, coming back, going to sleep. So it was really full on for all 3 days. Would I do it again? Yeah, probably I would. But I don't think I would do all 3 days again. It's a bit too much, unless you're staying somewhere that's very close to the track. I'm talking within half an hour. So maybe if I was to go to a future race, I'd maybe just go for the actual race day on Sunday and not bother with the other 2 days. And I'll definitely pick a different track to go to. Like I said, Spa's just a bit too long to get to. And even if you did decide to drive there, because it's in the middle of nowhere, it's all just narrow roads leading out of the track. So when we were walking down to catch the shuttle bus yesterday, there was just so much traffic, cars were just not moving, everything was just at a standstill. But yeah, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video, and hopefully I've inspired you to visit an F1 race weekend at some point if you have the means to do so. I've got a couple of hours here to spend in Brussels, so I'm going to sign off on this video now. Hopefully you guys are doing well, stay safe, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.